here, as always, with etiquette expert Diane Gottsman to talk about a very important and a pretty sensitive subject with families and groups of close friends. It's lending money.
That's right.
And you've got a series of tips for us for borrowers and lenders.
Yes.
That we're going to get to and a lot of information real fast. But it is a touchy deal.
It's anytime you have anything to do with money, it's touchy. You know, I think the best tip of all is try not to borrow. You know, basically.
That'll get to our first tip, I guess, for someone who's going to have to ask.
Yes.
That's a difficult position to be in. But like you said, try not to exhaust every other option before you go there.
And sometimes you have to, sometimes it's a necessity. You have to go to your mom. Let's just say you have a car that needs a new engine and you have to take kids to school or you need to get to work and you know that your parents have a little bit of extra income. So ask, or your friend, you know, if that's what you're going to do, but make sure that you're not asking to borrow because you want to invest in a hot, sexy sports car versus trying to get your kids to school. You know, there's that difference. So make sure that when you're asking for a legitimate reason. We
always trick ourselves of what's a need and a want, but this is absolutely for need. You need to know this is for a need. A couple other tips to put it in writing. Try to offer signs of your trustworthiness.
Well, that's right, because, you know, think of it as a loan. And I mean, it is a loan, but think of it as if you're going to the bank. You're going to have to make some agreements. You're going to have to sign. When am I going to pay? How often am I going to pay? What's going to happen if I default? And let me give you a little bit of collateral. You know, if you have something lying around that shows that you're trustworthy, say, listen, this is this is a piece of jewelry I have, and I'm going to pay you back, but out of good faith. If I don't, you know, feel free. You know, put everything in writing, sign it. Am I going to pay you interest? Am I not going to pay you interest? So it's best to know up front and have that conversation.
It's great. And that way, no one's memory gets fuzzy.
That's right.
Either legitimately, because someone might forget, or they say it's fuzzy and it's not. You have it in writing. And then also consider the consequences, because there will be consequences. Things change. Dinner just tastes a little different at their house.
That's right. You know, when you ask a friend to borrow money and all of a sudden the relationship changes, don't be surprised, because that friend or even family member is going to be watching every penny you spent. And don't be surprised when they say, so you asked me for money, you know, to help you out with your rent, but now you've shown up with a new purse, or is that a new pair of shoes?
It does make you wonder about the payments you're paying back if you show up with a new item like that and there's still money outstanding.
So don't be surprised, in other words. They're watching. And it does hurt relationships. So keep that in mind.
That's why it's a last resort. Diane, you've got some tips for lenders as well. And I think the first one is the best one. Consider it a gift. You can draw up the agreement, you can do the whole thing, but in your mind, don't lend out money that you're not willing to just let be gone.
And that you don't have. So if I don't have the money to lend you, then that's number one, that's a consideration. But number two, consider it a gift. Even if you have all of these agreements, as you mentioned, you know, I have to be able to think ahead they're going to default. You know, just prepare yourself for the worst. And you'll be surprised when you get it back. Right.
And then emotionally, maybe that diffuses some of that anger if you've decided this is just something I've given them. That you don't get mad as time goes on.
And, you know, sometimes a loan is really, it's out of goodwill. If you have it, give it. If it's something that you want to do, but don't feel pressured to give. You know, we think, oh, my gosh, well, they're my best friend. What do I do? Or, oh, you know, it's my sister. Well, the answer, we do set boundaries. And sometimes, rather than giving the money if we can't give it, how about if you know that they're having trouble getting to work back and forth with a money issue, maybe give them a gas card. Or if they're having trouble making rent or feeding their children, you know, you can give them a gift card for food. Or if you question, because the reality is sometimes you really wonder, you know, do they really need it for this? Yet they're your family members, so you want to help. So there's alternate ways to do that.
You can really sacrifice, like you offer to provide some child care so they can go work some more.
That's right.
They're putting it out there and you're helping too in a real tangible way. But I think one of the biggest life skills is the ability to say no, and you can say it kindly, right? For whatever, even if you have the money and you don't want to give it, and they're going to have to react to it how they do.
That's right. And don't, we all feel pressure, but really and truly, you don't have to make too many excuses. You don't have to make an excuse at all. It's just not in my budget. You know, it's just not a good time for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
How else can I help?
That's right. That's a great way to do it. A lot of the minefields as we come into the fall season, we're going to be getting together a lot more. Sometimes that might come up. Diane Gottsman, good advice. We appreciate it.